A few years ago, entrepreneur Jim Clark envisioned a boat built purely for speed. A boat so light, so fast, that it would shatter every record it attempted. In 2014, that dream became a reality with the 100-foot monohull Comanche.
It's by almost any measure the fastest monohull in the world.
With her revolutionary design, she has since been dominating the world of professional sailing, blowing competitors out of the water. Now, skipper Ken Reed is on a mission to break one of sailing's most prestigious benchmarks, the transatlantic record.
It's one of the holy grails of ocean-going records.
A grueling journey of 2,880 nautical miles from New York to the southern tip of England. The crew's success depends largely on how elite navigator Stan Honey can predict, harness, and adapt to the Atlantic's fickle weather patterns. If broken, this record will secure Comanche's place among the most successful racing boats in sailing history.
Overview of Comanche is really simple. It's Jim and Christy Clark's dream to have the ultimate race boat, the ultimate monohull race boat.
Clark's team analyzed every aspect of the modern monohull, then set out to build the next iteration of racing boats, principally designed to break open ocean records.
The build team that we assembled are the best of the best.
There was no expense spared in creating this thing. It's either carbon or titanium.
With the engineering structure, with the use of carbon fiber, with this canting keel mechanism, this boat is literally half the weight of a boat like this, even 10, 15 years ago.
Ken Reed, the skipper, and Jim Clark, the owner, gave the designer a very, very clear mission, which was to design and build the fastest possible boat that was legal to enter into the major ocean races around the world, and to ideally set the course records for these events. That sort of clarity of objective was, I think, critical to the boat coming out the way it did.
You know, it's meant to make a statement in the sailing world, and you can just tell by its outward appearance, it makes a statement.
The level of detail that they take in building these boats then filters down throughout the whole sailing team.
Ken is among the best sailors in the world. He's commentator for the America's Cup. He's extremely knowledgeable, you know, about sailing, and he's a great skipper.
Ultimately, what I'm pretty good at doing is getting a compatible group of all-stars from all around the globe that can actually handle a boat like this. It's like a Formula One car. You let it get away from you, it'll get away from you.
It is a very dangerous boat. Everybody who's on board this boat either has America's Cup, Volvo Ocean Race, Grand Prix, high-end racing background. It's their career, it's their job.
My job specifically is really quite easy. I get to sail the coolest boat in the world. I guess as the skipper of the boat, I'm ultimately responsible for the safety of the crew, the big decisions. You know, I work very closely with Stan Honey, the navigator, on where we position ourselves in the ocean.
It's critical because the navigator and the skipper work together very closely. And then where we overlap and work together is in the tactic area.
The boat's a 100-foot screaming machine that has been built to break every record in the world that we can, and she's on her way to doing that.
Once in the water, Comanche went straight for her competitors.
Wild Oats is the boat to knock off, and we're here for a reason, but there's also 3 or 4 other really good boats in this event that could do the same exact thing. So we just got to go out and sail well and let the chips fall.
The sheer size of it, it looks different to any other boat out there at the moment.
I think it's fair to say we got the fastest 100-footer in the world. You saw what it did off the starting line and what it did down that first run, and we were 30 miles ahead when we broke. We love this boat.
We've had good luck racing in those races and setting the records.
This boat's unique because it's the fastest in the world.
With wind in their sails, the Comanche team set their sights on sailing's most prestigious prize, the transatlantic record.
Stan Honey is a legend in our sport. When you think of all the great navigators, Stan is one of those guys right at the top of the list who comes to mind. The amount of work that he puts into it to make these attempts happen, without him, it wouldn't happen.
So the transatlantic Monohull record is probably the most prestigious sailing record of any.
In 1905, the transatlantic record was first set by the schooner Atlantic. It took her 12 days and 4 hours to cross, a benchmark that stood for 100 years. Since then, only 4 boats have improved on her record.
The current project we're setting out to do is to try to set the Monohull record for the fastest transatlantic passage. That record is currently set at 6 days, 17 hours by Marisha. Marisha did as well as any boat could do in that tactic where you're going to have to use 2 systems to get across the ocean. So what we were trying to do was to take an entirely different approach, which nobody had ever done before in a monohull, but take a single system all the way across.
You know, he watches the weather just religiously, looking for all these small little things that might happen.
I had access to 11 years of historical weather data. So I routed Comanche every 6 hours for each of the last 11 years from June through November. And what I discovered was that there was only 2 possibilities per year on average where Comanche could stay ahead of a southwesterly storm the whole way across.
You can't take the ocean for granted. This is man against ocean. This is man against the elements. If I've learned anything, you start to just get a little cocky in the ocean and it'll bite you hard.
July 2016. Stan Honey spots a moving low in the westerlies, potentially favorable for an Atlantic crossing. Within a day, the International Comanche team is assembled in New York City, waiting for a green light.
It was kind of a cruel turn of fate that it turned out that the perfect weather had evolved in a time when Kenny couldn't join us.
For Ken, it just came at a period where he had a prior commitment with the America's Cup, but that's the nature of weather.
If Comanche launches, Captain Casey Smith will take the helm as skipper.
Oh, my pants to start with.
But at that point, Kenny knew just how hard it is to find these opportunities and said, okay, well, I can't make it, but you guys got to go.
To be able to be told that, hey, you're going to be the guy in charge, and I was really, really happy to be in that position and trusted like that.
Casey is an enormously experienced sailor, and he was the boat captain, so he's the guy in charge of moving the boat around between events. So nobody knows the boat better than Casey.
Casey in the pit, Nick Dana at the rig.
The transatlantic was a very interesting one for us because we had 3 false starts. You're waiting for that exact window and you have to be ready at any moment, so your life's pretty much on hold. At this point, we're not that confident that this was actually the one.
We are getting constant information from Stan.
We want to start as close as we can to the front, but ahead of the thunderstorms, because if the thunderstorms catch us, you guys know what happens.
It felt like a bit like launch day for NASA, where you're waiting for that exact window and you have to be ready at any moment.
This is the put yourself in harm's way to try to do something that nobody else has ever done before.
And then when we pushed off the dock and started motoring out, that's when it really was like, wow, we're doing it, we're gonna go. Amazing. It's real, it's happening. We positioned ourselves about a mile away from the Ambrose light, which gives us enough runway to hit the start line at full speed. We had the sail combination that we wanted to use. We had the perfect wind. It was time to let it rip.
The acceleration, doing 25 knots to 30 knots.
Perfect, guys.
Doing that jump in such a short amount of time can often put you on your butt.
Copy.
1658-16.
And we come past the Ambrose light, fully lit up. Everyone gave a huge hoot and holler as we went past the start line, and off we went. And it's pretty radical. You've got all the sail area up, you've got all the power in the world you need. So, you know, for a start, you don't want to mess it up.
New York's there, England is there, 3,100 miles now. We're going to knock this bastard off.
But just as they're off, things take a dangerous turn as Comanche tangles with a formidable thunderstorm.
The worst part of it, the most dangerous part weather-wise, was actually the first night and that next morning.
We started ahead of a front, and the thunderstorms preceding the front came out earlier than expected and kind of gobbled us up, which was unexpected. And you know, we definitely had to change our plan, adapt on the go, sail a course that we weren't expecting to sail. And the first thing in my mind is it over? Are we done? Are we sailing home and going on standby again?
For hours, the team battles through the wind and waves of the unforeseen lightning squall.
You know, you can't control the lightning. The lightning does what it wants to do. And so you basically just put that out of your mind and focus on the sailing. You focus on what you can control.
I thought it was over. When the thunderstorms came, I thought it was actually over. But luckily we were able to find a little narrow bit of breeze up close to land and escape.
And we managed to just wiggle our way out of it and keep on going.
Well, tough morning, day two. The thunderstorms, which were brewed up over the sort of Central America, came out and got us. Now we've popped out the other side and we're back in the forecast wind, so looking good. Heading east at pace.
It's probably closer to a dive expedition. We spend a lot of time underwater. All of our gear is our only line of defense from becoming totally saturated, turning into a giant raisin.
You got 18 guys on board and it's for 5.5 days. So it's pretty tight quarters, even though it is a 100-foot boat. You're sharing bunks, sharing bowls, you're sharing water bottles for drinking and everything.
For the two groups of 8, we do a 4-hour on, 4-hour off system.
This race, we just did a simple 4-on, 4-off, you know, traditional watch system.
That's a challenge in itself, you know, waking up every 4 hours to come on deck and do your watch.
Now you're off the lock!
And then off you go again. You might sleep for 3 hours out of that when you're down, when you've eaten.
If you're lucky, you get your 4 hours off watch, but you never miss your 4 hours on deck.
And when you're off watch, you got to do everything else. It's when you got to do the cooking, do the tidying up, do the eating, and try to get some sleep. The 4 hours goes by pretty darn quick.
So you have your helmsmen, who they'll drive the boat for 2 hours. You've got your trimmers of the sails, who are basically the engine making the boat go fast.
So I'm one of the bright individuals that is on the front of the boat that's basically taking on a lot of the dangerous situations. Up front, we deal with all the sails going up and down.
And then you've got a lot of the guys who are required for the muscles and everything to pull those sails in.
The more prestigious of the records are set by boats where all of the sail handling is done with human power.
We have 6 grinding pedestals, so we have to pull any sails up or trim them in. We have 12 guys just going at it until, you know, the trimmer's happy or, you know, the sail's up.
You're working the sails, you're grinding, you're steering, you're always sort of losing against the sleep.
There's no place I'd rather be, even though it's a terrible place in a lot of respects.
I wish I had new boots.
Being on board Comanche in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean is something that you realise how small you are out there. You realise that you're a speck. Personally, I love the silence. You know, when you're flying an aeroplane across and you look down, you're never going to see us. It's huge. You know, if we were to lose all communications and everything, you'd have a hard time finding us.
Another thing that you tend to notice early on is how big the ocean is. You know, if you're sailing around the world, you can just sail for day after day after day after day, even on a really fast boat.
You have a lot of time to think when you're out there. The day slows down a lot. You're living every hour.
It's kind of cool to disconnect, and you're out there in the elements, the wind and the waves. It's nothing like it. It's crazy.
You have a lot of time to reflect on everything in your life, but as well, you have a lot of time to appreciate where you are in the world. All of us were definitely captivated by the sea at that point.
It's amazing.
You get the clouds getting lower and lower and lower, and the sky turns more and more gray, and then you get this sort of drizzle as it starts to rain. And that's what we had all the way across the ocean, just kind of this gray drizzle.
Things move differently compared to other keelboats I've sailed on. 1 minute you're doing 10 miles an hour, and then you blink, and honestly you're up to 20 to 30 miles an hour.
The thing's a weapon. It just goes forever. And it's not a really short awesome. The thing's being awesome for days on end.
Okay guys, there's ice contours we're keeping track of.
Day 3, Comanche faces its greatest obstacle, navigating through an area known to have icebergs.
You've got to watch what's going on out here though. There's a bit of fog around.
There was a very small patch of southwesterly that we had to stay in. And that patch of wind took us right through an area where there was known to be ice.
Couldn't see more than 100 feet in front of the boat, fully engulfed in fog. You know, doing 20 knots, 100 feet isn't enough warning to avoid the ice.
And it sounds crazy to have guys on deck keeping a careful watch for icebergs when you can't even see the bow. But a funny thing happens when you get close to an iceberg. The icebergs are just unbelievably white, that they appear to glow. You know, you're sailing along in pea soup fog, suddenly gets a little bit clear, and then a part of the horizon looks funny, because it looks like it's glowing.
The consequence of hitting icebergs is so severe, and it's like you just turn it out of your mind. You're like, we just can't, you prepare for it, but if it happens, it happens.
On the leeward side of an iceberg, you can get these small bits of ice called growlers. They're too small to see on radar. You know, they're like the size of a pickup truck. If it hit the boat exactly wrong, it's potential that it could punch a big enough hole into the boat so that the boat could sink.
To be fair, it's hard to sleep when you're off watch and go down below, because you know the other watch is going through exactly the same thing, so it's a little bit nervous. Not my favourite part of sailing. I don't like it, yeah.
And that's why when we sleep down below, we sleep with our feet forward, so if you stop suddenly, your feet will take the impact, not your head.
Okay guys, we're out of the area that there are known to be icebergs, and we've got 20 more minutes until we're out of the area where there's any possibility of an iceberg.
Yeah, right now by the GPS, we're 22 miles, a little over an hour to go.
We knew we were on the pace. We knew that the time was right.
And a lot of transatlantic records fail right at the finish. Boats get within 100 miles of the finish and then they stop due to the light air. And I knew once we were 2/3 of the way across that that wasn't going to happen, that that low was powerful enough to push that ridge and we were going to have good breeze all the way in.
What are you looking for? Land, Jan. We're looking for the lizard. Should be on the bow about 10 miles. Can't quite see it yet.
And the finish is off the Lizard Lighthouse in southwest England.
Now.
Hey!
Essentially, we had crushed the record.
The goal was to improve Marishaw's record by a day. We were able to improve it by 1 day, 3 hours. We pioneered a completely new tactic, which is the tactic of doing it in a single system. And it was just barely possible to do that with a boat like Comanche, and I don't think it would have been possible with a monohull that was any slower.
This boat was built to do that. It did it. We're all very happy.
It's such a special thing to be able to break this transatlantic record. Huge thanks to the weather gods to allow us to do it as well, because that's what it really took.
I'm happy, I'm tired.
I think for everyone in the crew, it was something they're real proud of, because these records live forever. A record like the transatlantic record is one of the most prestigious events in all of sailing. Even if somebody beats our record, it'll always show that Comanche took, 1 day, 3 hours off the previous one.